So the sun shines, but the house rest continues, and many of us now are missing our family and friends. But what gets my blood really boiling is that 15,000 people are still flooding into our country for the airports. They've not been tested or screened, and this makes a mockery of the whole situation. And we're still seeing boats coming over the channel into Hastings from France. It's shocking to think that we live on an island, yet we can't defend our borders. Some people being arrested for saying borders open, pubs shut, and they're also being labelled racist. This is absolutely shocking. And this week, we've seen Romanian farm workers additionally flown in, picked for Britain, are aiming to help recruit seasonal fruit and vegetable pickers that farmers say are needed for the harvest. But 25,000 Brits also applied for these jobs, and they would have been absolutely ideal for our economy and to keep St. Greta happy. But these British workers have been turned away, claiming that farmers from employment agencies are favouring the migrants who traditionally fill the roles. How's this not racist? Where is the diversity here? Once again, we see racism directed at the British and being treated with a blind eye. Now, these workers are expected to live on farms in shed caravan accommodation with all the other workers, and they are paid an absolute pittance. Basically, they are slave labour. Well, today I'm joined by David Polden of Project Natter. How are you getting on, David?
Yeah, very well, Martin. Thanks for having us on, mate.
No, what are your thoughts on this?
It's complete and utter discrimination towards the English.
Oh,
According to the Office of National Statistics, unemployment rate in the 3 months to January was at 3.9%. Some reports now are saying it's about 9%. We know that 75% of our workforce are at home sat on their hands. They've either been furloughed or they're just unemployed at the moment. So we've got loads of men and women in our country that are more than willing and able to do these jobs. And as you've mentioned, there quite a few people already have applied for these jobs and they have been totally ignored. So I think we'll have a look into this and find out, it's a bit extraordinary to have all these, this workforce in the
yeah.
United Kingdom. Nobody working, people were screaming out looking for jobs. Some people were seriously desperate for money at the moment. Not to mention self-employed people, people on 0-hour contracts. So it doesn't make sense why you would outsource it
No.
overseas. So I done a little bit of research and I found this guy. His name's Mark Bridgman, and he's the president of the Country Land and Business Association. Now, the Country Land Business Association, if you go onto their website, they openly brag that they lobbied the government for workers to be able to do another job whilst they're furloughed. So I thought, this is a bit funny, isn't it? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
And then still source the jobs. They state on their website that within the first week, 26,000 Brits have applied for these jobs. As we know, many of them have been ignored. So I looked a little bit more at the president, Mark Bridgman. Mark Bridgman, turns out he's a Remainer. I went onto his
Oh,
Twitter. He's retweeted the likes of Femi, who at the time was slagging off Nigel Farage. He's also been on various news channels in America stating the mess that we've got ourselves into with Brexit. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had some sort of influence over bringing in foreign workers and using British.
wow. And do you think his heart he's got these foreign workers' interests at heart, or do you think it's purely to save them a few quid?
It's basically to save them a few quid. This is what the European Union was all about from the
Mm,
beginning. It's just the exploitation of cheap labour. We always hear the same adage of the foreigners do the jobs that the Brits don't want to do. No,
yeah.
they either do it for the prices that we can't afford to work at because they're
Yeah.
being exploited at, or we just get discriminated against like we just have with these jobs.
Exactly, and that's what it's all seems to be about, isn't it? And a lot of these employers probably think a lot of baggage comes with British workers because they got to pay them the minimum wage. But these people coming from Romania, they're just stuffed into these caravans on these sites and things. That's no life for them. But it is literally like it sounds like more like of a slave camp. But it's wrong on all levels. Like you said, we've got all those people sitting down with nothing to do at the moment, and they want something to do to feel useful. We should have our own land army like we've done in times gone by. What do you think?
well, across the pond, Martin, we've seen like Donald Trump, for instance, he's being called racist and a Nazi again.
Mm,
Um, he's protecting American jobs. He's put a temporary ban on immigration to
mm.
protect American jobs. But here we don't even have that. We've got Remainers just saying, well, the Brits aren't having the job. We're going to give them to people from overseas. And no disrespect to Remainers because they're just looking for work like most people are.
Mm.
But we need a bit of protectionism at this time. We're all struggling, and we need to look after each other and make sure that our country prospers.
Absolutely. This is time for that British spirit to come in again. Well, I'm just going to move on to our next story now. As you know, this week we had St. George's Day. Well, very shockingly, a couple from Milton Keynes were actually called Nazis and had 50 bags of dog poo thrown in their garden for celebrating St. George's Day. But worst, well, I say worst on a different level. Today, we have heard of multiple reports of Facebook banning people for sharing a meme that says English and proud, as apparently it goes against their community standards. I mean, how does it? I suggest that Facebook are discriminating against these people, and this is a very dangerous hypocrisy. But it's been people like Emily Thornberry who's demonised our flag. Our flag that so many have shed blood for so we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today. It's ironic that England, who led the way to save the world from the Nazis, are some of the most discriminated people in the Western world. The world should celebrate St. George's Day as a tribute to the English people's willingness to help rather than look the other way. We are an amazing breed of people. So what are your thoughts on this, David, as a former Facebook user?
Well, as you pointed out, a former Facebook user because I've been removed and deleted by Facebook. They've stolen my videos and pictures and whatnot and deleted my personal profile, all because I run a Facebook page called The Brexiteers. I was reaching between 2 and 3 million people a day.
Wow.
They do not want anybody communicating a patriotic line on their platform. So if you're from England, they will discriminate against you. We've seen people, like you just mentioned, that were banned for posting me saying that they were proud to be English with St. George's on the meme and whatnot. Would Facebook take the same line to somebody from Nigeria posting something on a National Nigerian Day saying they were proud to be Nigerian? Would Facebook take the same line on somebody from Pakistan posting a post saying they were proud to be Pakistani on a Pakistani National Day?
Exactly. And what about St. David's Day? Would they do it for that? It's a very valid question you got there.
Well, they won't. So we know this is all down to cultural Marxism. They're trying to dilute England down as much as possible. Anyone who speaks out against it is always silenced and removed from social media platforms. We've seen time and time again, especially with fascist book. Sorry, I meant Facebook. They are the worst, and they've removed so many people and demonized so many people. Had their accounts disabled merely for posting a meme, expressing that they're proud to be English.
Oh, I mean, how dare we have some pride in our nation, and like I said, people should be celebrating our flag, but they demonized it somehow. They made it like it's something like the Nazi flag or something, and it seems like they've pushed people to the extent where they're embarrassed by it, embarrassed to wave it and all the rest of it. But every other country, they love their flag. You see the Americans always got their flags out on their flagpoles and things. On St. Patrick's Day, everyone's Irish, aren't they, all of a sudden? All got Irish roots and things and drinking Guinness and stuff. But the way they demonise our flag is absolutely disgusting. And you're quite right to mention about the cultural Marxism. We've seen it infiltrate many aspects of our society, from the indoctrination of our kids in classrooms to things like the BBC, where we've seen before they won't accept people who are white. They'll only accept people with a BAME background. Have you seen similar things yourself, David?
Well, yeah, and I think that it's time that we, as English people, as British people, come together and fight these cultural Marxists tooth and nail. You know, they talk about the Equalities Act. They're in breach of the Equalities Act with the jobs and stuff when they discriminate against people, saying you can only apply for this job if you're from a BAME background. They call it discrimination. If you look at the Equalities Act, there's nothing positive about discrimination, so they're breaking the law. As you mentioned, with these jobs, we see it with the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, all the cultural Marxist channels. Now, also freedom of expression, which is a basic human right, which is a law, the Human Rights Act. You have a right for freedom of expression. That's also being broken. So I'd like to see Facebook be held to account for breaking the laws within inside the United Kingdom, and cultural Marxists that are running Facebook need to be prosecuted and made an example of.
Well, maybe next St George's Day we could have a little gathering somewhere in London. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I was going to say it would be interesting to find out how Facebook would feel if a load of patriots were to turn up on the next St George's Day at their headquarters in London.
With all their racist St George's flags, flying them around.
But it's funny how people, are demonised for celebrating St George, who's the patron saint of England, and you're in England celebrating the patron saint of England.
It's beggars
couldn't
belief.
Make it up.
Absolute beggars belief. Right, well, we'll leave it there for today. But I just want to thank you very much, David, for coming on. Some fantastic research there, and I hope you'll be able to join us again soon.
Thanks for having us on, Martin.
Take care, everyone.